And we are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. Thursday night, we got a fun one tonight. Detroit Lions playing in Green Bay tonight. Pretty surprising spread tonight. The Packers are 2.5-point home underdogs against the Lions. Lions getting a lot of respect. Lions getting a ton of respect, honestly, with this spread. And I don't hate it. I don't have a strong feel about the spread tonight, but there is a lot of fantasy takes we got to get through because there's a lot of fantasy decisions tonight. Feels like even more so than most of the other Thursday nights. We're going to be live for at least the next hour, breaking all of it down. But just to start us off at the top here, you got to start Jahmyr Gibbs tonight in almost all situations. Amon-Ra obviously should be started. He's a top 10 option this week. Aaron Jones back from an injury. He needs to be started tonight. Sam Laporta is a top 6 tight end rest of season right now. He ranks, I think, as a top 5 tight end so far this season. He absolutely needs to be started tonight. Jordan Love is definitely in play. It's a top 12 quarterback this week. He is tied for third in the league in passing touchdowns this season. Luke Musgrave needs to be in the mix tonight as well. I view him as a top 10 tight end option. Guys, Sam Laporta, number 2 in targets among tight ends this season. Absolutely insane numbers from him. He's third. Sam Laporta is third in fantasy points per game this year. Absolutely is a must start. Romeo Doubs is the only Packers receiver I feel comfortable starting tonight. Jaden Reed, I would view as a fringe start. I have him as a must bench here because I'm done with the fringe lists. People didn't like them. They want me to make a take. I'm going to make a take. And my take for this game tonight is don't start Christian Watson or Jaden Reed. Christian Watson is going to be the receiver you want to start, generally speaking, in this offense. But there's already reports that he's not going to see his full amount of snaps coming off the hamstring injury. Exciting to see him playing tonight. But yeah, you can't get too excited about Christian Watson tonight. I think you should look for better options on your team. Romeo Doubs, for that reason, is the Packers receiver to start tonight. Romeo Doubs, 12 targets last week. I had a prediction before the season he would lead this team in targets, and that very well could be the case tonight. David Montgomery, I want to start tonight in most situations. I think this is probably one of the harder start sits of the night is David Montgomery because this is a good matchup, guys, for the Lions backfield. The Packers have allowed the 9th most fantasy points per game to running backs this season. We saw Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert. They had 12 targets in week 1. They combined over 100 yards. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier combined over 150 yards against this defense. They had good fantasy days. Bijan went over 20 points. And then also we saw even Tony Jones and Kendre Miller find some success and Taysom Hill find some success against this defense last week. I like David Montgomery. I like Jahmyr Gibbs tonight for that reason. I like Jahmyr Gibbs more than David Montgomery, but yeah, I think both really can be started in most situations. Monty or Sanders? Yeah, I'm not going to start Monty over Sanders. I have Monty as like a back end RB2 this week. I think he's around RB24 to RB32 range. I think Miles Sanders is in the top 15. Let's pull up Jahmyr Gibbs here on the YouTube Live. We're live on TikTok and YouTube as always. Link is in the bio to the YouTube Live. If you're watching live on TikTok, is a better viewing experience. I can share my screen. I saw this comment in the YouTube Live, seeing, I think, a similar comment here in the TikTok Live as well. Jahmyr Gibbs over Sanders or Kyren Williams in a full PPR league. Walter's saying Kyren Williams over Jahmyr Gibbs. Walter, the AI model that powers the WalterPicks app, loves Kyren Williams. He's not coming off the field. The numbers in the peripheral numbers, which is what powers Walter, is really elite for Kyren Williams. 99% of the snaps in week 2, 100% of the snaps in week 3, and he's seeing really significant target numbers too. Guys, Kyren Williams has 17 targets over the last 2 weeks. So I'm okay starting Kyren Williams over Jahmyr Gibbs. I personally, though, I'm starting Gibbs tonight over Kyren Williams. I don't love the matchup for Williams as much as I do for Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm 100% starting Kyren Williams over David Montgomery. I don't think that one's very close. Let's do the Miles Sanders comparison too. I think that one Walter will probably like. I have a feeling Walter will like Miles Sanders more than Gibbs also. I do think we see Gibbs go back to somewhat of the usage we saw when him and Montgomery were playing in week 1 and week 2. But we also saw Jahmyr Gibbs get a 27% target share in week 2. And this is really the reason I just can't get myself to bench Jahmyr Gibbs. 26% target share for Jahmyr Gibbs in week 2. That was 6% in week 1, 7% in week 3. So 3 very different games when it comes to two games that were very different than one when it comes to his receiving profile. He had 7 catches in that game against the Seahawks, but this is a matchup more similar to the Seahawks than it is the Falcons and the Chiefs. For Jahmyr Gibbs, it's supposed to be a close game. Again, the Packers have been bad against running backs this season, bottom 10 defense against running backs in fantasy football. That's why I can't get off Jahmyr Gibbs tonight. Yeah, his snap share is probably going to be under 50%. He's not going to see the 17 carries that he saw last week. He's probably going to be in the 7 to 10 carry range. But guys, he has a real chance to get 9 targets tonight. There's very, very few running backs you can say that about in any given week. And Jahmyr Gibbs is one of those guys. Sanders does project ahead of him here in the WalterPicks app as well. I would play Gibbs over Sanders. I would personally play Gibbs over Kyren Williams. Again, better matchup, better receiving profile. The profile receiving wise, maybe it's not better than Kyren Williams, but the matchup definitely is better than Kyren Williams. So yeah, I'm starting Jahmyr Gibbs for sure tonight. I do think it's a Jahmyr Gibbs game, and I'm not going to make you guys wait too long for it. Tonight, the free player prop of the night, guys, it is Jahmyr Gibbs over 2.5 receptions. Again, he had a 9-target game. We've seen him hit this now in only one of his 3 games, but this is a matchup more similar to his 9-target game than the other 2 matchups were. So I like Jahmyr Gibbs over receptions tonight. I even think there might be a piece here where, because David Montgomery was out, right, the Lions used Jahmyr Gibbs more as a runner with David Montgomery out. He saw 17 carries. But in the game before that, he saw just 7 carries. He was out there less of the snaps, only 48% of the snaps, but he was used more as a receiver. He ran more routes in week 2 when David Montgomery was playing than he did in week 3 when David Montgomery wasn't playing. So maybe there's something here that when David Montgomery's playing, this actually helps Jahmyr Gibbs in fantasy because he's used more how we want him to be used for fantasy, which is in the passing game. Again, you do not see running backs across the entire season have games with a 26% target share. We saw that from Gibbs in week 2. I think that's a really encouraging sign. That was when he played the Seahawks defense, which has been bottom 12 against running backs this season. Now he gets a Packers defense that's also bottom 12 against running backs this season. Lock in Jahmyr Gibbs over 2.5 receptions tonight. I do really like that one. I also really like Sam Laporta's line because you can get Sam Laporta's line on Sleeper at a 23% discount. They're giving Sam Laporta's line. Let me pull this up here on the YouTube live too. They're giving Sam Laporta's line on Sleeper tonight as an absolute steal. It's over 3.5 receptions. He's crushed this in every single game so far this season. So I do like the Sam Laporta line on Sleeper. As always, if you use code Walter on Sleeper, you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. If you've never deposited before on Sleeper, guys, go take this free line over 3.5 receptions for Sam Laporta. Take Jahmyr Gibbs over 2.5 receptions, and then run it back with. I do like Jordan Love's passing touchdown prop tonight too. If you are looking for a third one on Sleeper, again, use code Walter to get that 100% deposit match on Sleeper. All right, let me pull this up for the people on YouTube as well. I think I got it here. If we look at the Laporta line, the new prop evaluator in the WalterPicks app, he's beat this line all 3 games so far. He's beat this line all 3 games. The line set at 4.5, but Sleeper's giving it to us at 3.5. Again, go take the free edge there on Sleeper over 3.5 receptions for Sam Laporta. But yeah, he's a must start for sure in fantasy. Again, 3rd in fantasy points per game at the tight end position is Sam Laporta. We also need to be starting Luke Musgrave though in almost all spots tonight as well. Luke Musgrave, guys, the rookie tight end class, they're the real deal. We're only 3 weeks in. They're the real deal. Sam Laporta not having quite as good of a season. Luke Musgrave not having quite as good of a season as Sam Laporta. He's at 7.8 points per game compared to Sam Laporta, who's in that ranks 22nd. Sam Laporta is, I think, scored more touchdowns than Musgrave. I'm not sure Musgrave has scored a touchdown yet. He's averaging 14.2 points per game. No touchdowns yet for Musgrave. 124 receiving yards for Musgrave, 186 for Laporta. So yeah, Laporta's definitely the play over Musgrave pretty clearly. Laporta's got a top 5 option this week, maybe a top 5 option rest of season at this point. And yeah, I like his overs tonight over receptions. I like his over 3.5 receptions a lot though, specifically on Sleeper. All right, let's get to some of these start sit questions. Laporta or Kittle? Yeah, God, that one is close. That one is definitely close. I like Kittle a lot against the Cardinals, and it also looks like Deebo Samuel is not going to play this week. Deebo Samuel did not practice, and there was a report that they saw him walking. Like that was like a good sign that he was walking at all. So yeah, I would play George Kittle over Laporta. I would play Kelsey over Laporta and Hawkinson over Laporta. I don't think I'd play anyone else over Laporta this week. I think Walter maybe has Evan Ingram and Mark Andrews. The AI model that powers the WalterPicks app maybe has Ingram and Mark Andrews ahead of Laporta. I don't agree with that. I would go Laporta over Evan Ingram and Mark Andrews and Darren Waller this week. That's how strongly I feel about Sam Laporta. All right, David Montgomery or DJ Moore. Really interesting matchup for DJ Moore this week. Let's pull this one up. DJ Moore gets a good matchup against the Broncos that just let up 70 points. By the way, guys, the Broncos let up 70 points to the Dolphins last week, and they're favorites this week. 3.5-point favorites, I think, against the Chicago Bears, which really puts into context just how bad the Bears have been. Pretty crazy stuff. You let up 70 points and you're favored the following week. I think they're on the road too. All right, let's do this comparison. David Montgomery versus DJ Moore. I do think David Montgomery is a good start tonight. Let me just start off with that. If this is a PPR league, the scoring settings matter, by the way. This is why the WalterPicks app is unmatched for your start sit decisions, because it's custom to your league scoring settings. You can either enter your league scoring settings manually in the free version, or if you take the $5 a month, 7-day free trial version of the app, you can sync your league and get custom insights immediately based on your league settings. PPR, I do agree with this one. I would go DJ Moore over David Montgomery in a PPR league. It's a good matchup, guys, for DJ Moore this week. And half PPR, though, I think is much, much closer. In a non-PPR league, I'm starting running backs over receivers almost every single time. There is not many running backs with a touchdown ceiling that David Montgomery has. All right, we got David Montgomery or Alvin Kamara. Also have Ridley in the flex currently. Yeah, I'm not benching Alvin Kamara this week. I really don't. I'm not benching Kamara for Montgomery. I don't think I'm benching Kamara for Gibbs either. Let me pull up that comparison. I think that one's maybe close, maybe not, honestly. Let's see. We got Gibbs. He's at RB19 in Walter's ranks. We got Kamara. He's at RB5. Yeah, you're not benching Kamara. There's no benching Alvin Kamara this week. The boom percentage is just so high for him with his receiving profile. So, yeah, you got to like Alvin Kamara a lot this week. Gibbs or Mixon. Oh, gosh. That one's pretty close, too. Let's pull that one up. I do really like Gibbs tonight. I'm taking his over receptions. The last game when Gibbs played with David Montgomery, he saw 9 targets. He ran more routes in that game than the game without David Montgomery. It seems like they are using him more like he is with his strengths when David Montgomery's in. They're playing both those running backs to their strengths. Gibbs' strength is as a receiving back. I think he's one of the better receiving backs in the NFL. We haven't seen him break a big receiving play yet, but it's coming. It's definitely coming. Mixon, I'm playing Gibbs over Mixon, 100%. Mixon gets the Tennessee Titans. This week, guys, the Titans have been extremely good against running backs. I know they let up a touchdown last week to Jerome Ford, who was on my must-bench list last week. Jerome Ford happened to catch a touchdown pass. But, guys, if Joe Mixon does not catch a touchdown pass or a lot of catches this week, he's almost definitely going to bust against the Titans. The Titans have been insanely good against the run. They have one of the best defensive lines in the league, and they also have a bad secondary. So they are very much a pass funnel defense. Look at this. The Tennessee Titans, they've allowed the 6th fewest points to running backs this season, but that's really only because Jerome Ford caught that receiving touchdown. They allowed no running back this year has gone over 45 rushing yards against the Titans, and they played not that many great running backs looking at the list here, but still no running back over 45 yards. Christian Watson or Jahmyr Gibbs. Oh, Madison or Jahmyr Gibbs. Seeing that from Maddie in the TikTok live. Madison or Jahmyr Gibbs is also pretty close. I lean Jahmyr Gibbs, though, over Madison. Christian Watson. Let's get our thoughts out about Christian Watson. Let me compare him and Dobbs here. I haven't seen any Dobbs questions yet, but I do think Dobbs is in play tonight. I don't think Walter will like him as much as I do. We have these guys. We actually have Watson in the WalterPicks app projected ahead of Romeo Dobbs, but I would play Romeo Dobbs ahead of Christian Watson personally, because I just don't feel great about Watson coming off the hamstring injury. How much is he going to play? There's already reports out there that he's not going to see his full workload. And Romeo Dobbs, look at the game for Romeo Dobbs last week. This is, by the way, not a great matchup for the passing attack, for the receivers, for the Lions. I still like Jordan Love to have a decent game. I like him more than Jared Goff tonight. But for the receivers, I think all these guys are a little bit risky with Christian Watson returning, but 12 targets, 28% target share. Really good air yard number here from Romeo Dobbs last week, too. He had 5 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. I think Dobbs is the guy to go with tonight over Watson, given the uncertainty with his playing time. I think Jaden Reed cannot be started, though, with Christian Watson returning. Don't think he's going to have that same red zone role anymore. All right, crazy plays tonight we got in the YouTube live. Amon-Ra 50+, Laporta 25+, Lions plus 3.5, David Montgomery plus 40, Aaron Jones 25+ rush yards. And my favorite crazy play tonight is the Jahmyr Gibbs alternate lines. The total yards, alternate lines of like 75, 100 yards. I don't think we've seen the big play from Gibbs yet that we're going to see multiple of them over the course of the season. I also am taking, let me pull this up here. I am taking the Packers against the spread tonight. By the way, we are now over 50% against the spread this season after a good week last week. And yeah, I'm taking the Packers plus 2.5 just because they're at home and they're underdogs. I would like to get this up to 3 or 3.5 because that's a pretty important number in the NFL. But yeah, I like the Packers to win this game. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't feel strongly about the spread. I don't usually take spreads in general, but I give my opinion about the spread on every live. That's my take on this live. All right, let's get to some of these questions. Zachary Brown in the YouTube live. I'm going to get to as many that starts comments as I can in the TikTok and YouTube lives. But as always, the WalterPicks app can help you with custom insights to your settings for free in the App Store. Link is in the TikTok bio and YouTube description. All right, another great WalterPicks stream. What's up, Zach? PPR trade, giving Madison, Ferguson, Zach Moss for Stevenson, Thielen/Brees, and Ertz/Freiermuth. Giving Madison, Ferguson, Zach Moss, you're getting Stevenson and Brees. I would definitely take Brees over Thielen. And I think I would take Freiermuth over Ertz at this point too. That one's pretty close. Both have been Ertz has been good, had a bad week last week. Muth has been bad, had a good week last week. Eckler and Kamara with the two I'm trading for. Yeah, I think Stevenson. I take Stevenson. I'm going to ignore the Ertz and Muth part of this because they're basically worthless. Stevenson and Brees, I would like that side of the trade. I like them both combined more than Madison and Zach Moss. And yeah, Ferguson's pretty much worthless as well. He's probably the best tight end in that trade, but just not a huge deal with the tight ends there. You're probably going to end up streaming from the waiver wire anyway. I like the trade, Zach. And I definitely want Brees. I think Brees has league winning upside. We saw Brees Hall average almost 17 fantasy points per game last year with Zach Wilson. So I'm not that panicked about Zach Wilson tanking Brees Hall. I think I'm definitely nervous about that for Garrett Wilson and basically the entire rest of the offense being tanked from Zach Wilson. But Brees Hall can still win leagues with Zach Wilson playing. And it's pretty clear Brees Hall is the best running back on the Jets. I posted a video today about 3 running backs I want to trade for, and Brees Hall was on that list. I think you can get him at a reasonable price right now. Just the fact that it was Brees Hall or Thielen being considered in that trade, I think proves my point. Garrett Wilson, Javonte, Madison, Gibbs, Tank Dell, start 3. I definitely think you got to start Gibbs. I would start Gibbs over Madison. I would start Gibbs over Javonte this week. I'm assuming this is a PPR league. Again, let me know the scoring settings and your start take questions. PPR, half PPR, non-PPR. It will oftentimes change the answer you get from me because the scoring settings matter a ton. It matters a lot, specifically in this game tonight for Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. David Montgomery gets better as you go down in the reception scoring. He's better in half PPR than he is in PPR, and he's better in non-PPR than he is in half PPR. The opposite is true for Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, the primary reason Gibbs has such a good ceiling in fantasy is his receiving role. He had a 26% target share. Over a fourth of the targets went to Jahmyr Gibbs in week 2. That was with David Montgomery in the lineup. So I think he might be used more as a receiver when David Montgomery plays. I think they might be able to play to each of those running back strengths. But yeah, in PPR, you really got to start Gibbs. In half PPR, I feel a lot less strong about that. In non-PPR, he's basically not startable in a lot of spots. Like there's that big of a drop-off for Gibbs when you go from PPR down to non-PPR. So yeah, here I would go Gibbs, Tank Dell. And I think Madison over Javonte. I do like the matchup for Madison this week. Good matchup for Javonte, honestly, too, though. I think it's close between Madison, Javonte, and Tank Dell, but I'm definitely starting Gibbs, assuming that is a PPR league. Good morning, Sam. Hope you had a great week so far. Do you like Goff tonight? I have Kirk starting over him right now. Also, love the prop tonight and prop evaluator on the app. Thank you, Kylo. Yeah, I'm taking the Jahmyr Gibbs over 2.5 receptions prop line tonight. I think I'm onto something here with seeing the 26% target share. I kind of want to throw out week 1 for Jahmyr Gibbs because it was pretty clear in that first game, the opening night game, they thought it was too much to give Gibbs a normal workload in that game. They wanted to ease him into the NFL. Okay, so let's throw that game out. Then in week 2, let me pull up these game logs again for Jahmyr Gibbs. In week 2, we see Jahmyr Gibbs. We saw the usage for Jahmyr Gibbs that we wanted to see in week 2. This is the exact usage. This is the usage we drafted Jahmyr Gibbs for. He only had 7 carries in week 2. He only played 48% of the snaps. Didn't even play half the game. But guys, he ran 21 routes and had a 26% target share, 9 targets. He caught 7 of those for 39 yards. We could see similar type of usage for him tonight in another plus matchup. Again, that also came in a good matchup against the Seahawks. This is a good matchup against the Packers. I like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot in a game that should be close. I think the receiving role is going to be there. I like him over 2.5 receptions. Also love the prop tonight. Thank you. All right, let's get to this question here, though, from Kylo. Do you like Goff? Yeah, so I am not a huge fan of Goff tonight. Let me pull up the list of guys I would start over Goff. I have that list ready to go because I knew we were going to get some Goff questions. Here's the QBs I'm starting over Jared Goff this week, and I think this is a long enough list that I feel good about Goff on the must-bench list because I think either you have one of these guys or you can go get one of these guys. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, those should be obvious. Herbert, I'm starting Tua against the Bills easily over Goff. Kirk Cousins, I am definitely starting over Jared Goff. Jordan Love, I'm starting over Jared Goff. Russell Wilson, Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, I'm starting over Goff. over Goff. I know a lot of people are down on Fields, but good matchup for Fields this week, and he's running enough to be startable over Goff in fantasy. And then Geno Smith, Joe Burrow, and Lamar. I'm starting all of them over Goff too. I don't feel great about Lamar this week. Honestly, the Browns defense looks like maybe the best defense in the NFL. They have not allowed anything. Guys, the Browns defense, they are number one, the best defense against quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends in fantasy football through 3 games this season. Absolutely insane. I'll say it again in case you missed that about the Browns, but I think the Browns are one of these defenses maybe this year we can't start any guys against. I'm nervous to start Lamar this week. I'm nervous to start Mark Andrews this week against the Browns. The Browns are the number one defense for fantasy points allowed. The number one defense means the hardest defense to play for quarterback fantasy points, running back fantasy points, wide receiver fantasy points, and tight end fantasy points. I mean, you just don't see that very often in the NFL. I don't know if that'll stick the whole season, but man, the Browns defense has been really elite so far this year. Hey, Sam, PPR League. Thank you for the scoring settings, Griffin. I appreciate it. Let me know the scoring settings. It does help. The reason I'm sitting Goff is the Packers defense has been relatively good against quarterbacks. Let me pull this number up here. I know they are missing Jair Alexander. They were missing Jair Alexander last week too, though, and they only allowed 204 passing yards to the Saints. No quarterback has thrown multiple passing touchdowns against the Packers this season. They haven't played the best QBs, so I might be overthinking Goff just a tiny bit because of that. He's a fringe start, though. He's really not a must start, in my opinion. The Packers have been much worse against running backs than they have been against the passing game. I like Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game tonight. I like Sam Laporta tonight, too. But yeah, I'm not super excited about Goff. I do prefer Jordan Love. Jordan Love has been better than Goff this season, too. Let me pull up that comparison here on the YouTube Live. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, I'm also live on YouTube. Link is right in the TikTok bio. And the YouTube Live is a little bit better of a viewing experience. You're like 2 presses of your finger away from it because I can share my screen from my computer and we can look at game logs and comparisons together on the YouTube Live. I can also pull up comments on the screen from the YouTube Live, which is nice. So yeah, let's do this Goff versus Jordan Love comparison. I'll pull this up on the YouTube Live in just a second. I feel pretty strongly about Love over Goff tonight. And I just think there's enough good options that I don't feel compelled to force Jared Goff into my starting lineup this week. He definitely can have a good game. I just don't think it's by any means a lock. And the Lions want to be run heavy, and they're going to use the running backs a ton in this game. Yeah, Walter agrees with me to start Jordan Love. Better, a worse actually bust percentage, so a better chance Jordan Love busts, according to Walter, than Jared Goff. But yeah, much higher ceiling for Jordan Love. So yeah, I like going with Jordan Love tonight. The Packers have been a little bit worse against quarterbacks than the Lions have been against quarterbacks. Still think it's Jordan Love. Yeah, look at the numbers here for the fantasy stats. Jordan Love's averaging 23 fantasy points per game. Guys, Jordan Love, I think, is a top 3 fantasy quarterback so far this year. He has 7 touchdowns. That's tied for the 3rd most in the league with Pat Mahomes. He's averaging a little less yards than Goff, but yeah, way more touchdowns. Look at the touchdown numbers here. So yeah, I do like, we look at the passing stats a little bit for Jordan Love and Jared Goff. I like Love more than Goff. I mean, some of these numbers honestly are a little bit more encouraging now that we're looking a little bit deeper into this for Goff than Love. But wow, yeah, that air yards number, if you can see that peeking up over the question here on the YouTube Live, it really is telling. 337 air yards on average Jordan Love throws compared to 266 for Goff. This shows us that Love is pushing the ball down the field much, much more than Jared Goff is. Definitely, that's better for fantasy and probably a big reason why we're seeing the number so far that we're seeing between these two guys. All right, Josh Reynolds or Josh Downs in a PPR league. Yeah, I'm not starting Josh Reynolds tonight. I do not want to start Josh Reynolds tonight. I wouldn't do that to yourself on a Thursday night. He is, in theory, the number 2 receiver for the Lions. He's really number 3, though, I think, after Amon-Ra and Laporta, and maybe even number 4 after Gibbs. Again, we've seen Gibbs get a 26% target share. I think Reynolds had 0 points last week, if I recall correctly. That's definitely not the guy you want to be starting. Not that he can't have a good game, but the floor is 0. We saw him get 0 points last week. He played 80% of the snaps. He ran around on 76% of the dropbacks and 0 targets, 0 receptions for Josh Reynolds. That's the same thing we could see from Khalif Raymond and Marvin Jones. None of these guys can be started. I wouldn't start any of them, Jack. I'm not starting any of the Lions receivers outside of Amon-Ra. He's an auto start every single week. And then I think Laporte is an auto start every single week now too. Love or Lamar Jackson? Yeah, I like Love more than Lamar this week. Really dangerous week for Lamar against the Browns. The Browns are the number 1 defense against quarterbacks this season. Dobbs or Lockett this week? Yeah, I'm going Lockett over Romeo Dobbs. Won the chip because of you, Sam, last year. Let's go. I love to hear that. I give Amari, Saquon, and Jameson Williams for Gibbs and A.J. Brown. Happy PR. Yes, I would do this. I like A.J. Brown a decent amount more than Amari Cooper. And I honestly think Gibbs can be better than Saquon rest of season, given the injury stuff with Saquon right now. It sounds like Saquon has a decent chance to play this week. Is he really going to be at 100%? Is he at a risk for re-injury? All that stuff could be the case. So yeah, I like this one. And Jameson Williams, he has an intriguing ceiling when he comes back, because this is Jameson Williams really feels he should fill a role that the Lions really need on the outside receiver spot, but it is definitely tough to see. It's tough to have any confidence Jameson Williams at this point in his career. I think he had one catch last year. He's been constantly injured or suspended. So yeah, I don't feel great about him overall. And he's still going to be a few more weeks till you can even play him. So yeah, I like this trade. I like Gibbs and AJ Brown side of that trade a decent amount. Hey Sam, JSN or A-Chain at the flex this week. I'm 0-3 and need a win. Side note, I drafted A-Chain and dropped in for Kendra last week, but ended up grabbing him off waivers this week. LOL. Yeah, Andrew, you're definitely not alone in that. A-Chain had scored less than 2 fantasy points in the first 2 weeks. So I don't blame you for dropping him. I'm glad you got him back. Yeah, A-Chain's a super, super difficult start-sit decision this week. Because part of you don't want to chase the 50-point game. He's not going to get a 50-point game again this whole season. He might not have another 50-point game his entire career. Most players don't. So we probably just saw the best fantasy game of A-Chain's career, most likely. But that's not why we can't start him either. I mean, he's playing in probably a pretty good game environment against the Bills. The Bills defense has been good against running backs. They have. But I'm not that scared about the Dolphins offense being stopped by the Bills defense just in general this week. I don't think the Bills have played as good of an offense as the Dolphins yet this season. So yeah, A-Chain versus JSN. I'm going A-Chain over JSN this week. I would play Gibbs though over A-Chain. And I think Montgomery versus A-Chain is a really tough decision too. I think I lean Montgomery over A-Chain. And I think almost every other place is going to project A-Chain ahead of Montgomery. But it's a better matchup for Montgomery than it is A-Chain. And A-Chain is still the number 2 running back. They're going to split like maybe 40% of the work if that game's close. Like, I don't think the workload that A-Chain saw is going to be realistic because that game wasn't close and he was the guy in at the end. Mostert is clearly ahead of A-Chain. So yeah, I like Montgomery more than A-Chain too, but it's close. Hey Sam, Walter helped me win both my fantasy leagues last year. Line, let's go. By the way, common mistake. My name's not Walter. My name is Sam. I helped build Walter. Walter is the AI model that powers the WalterPicks app to give us custom insights for all of our fantasy decisions, start sit decisions, trade decisions, add drop, waiver wire, rest of season rankings decisions, DFS decisions for DraftKings and FanDuel, and player prop decisions too, with the prop evaluator and weekly prop picks that Walter identifies in the WalterPicks app. That's free to download, by the way, in the YouTube description and the TikTok bio. That's the best way you could support me, is checking out the WalterPicks app. And I'm pumped to hear Ryan say this in the YouTube live, that it helped him win both his fantasy leagues last year. All right, start Musgrave or Pitts, full PPR, and love Wilson, Richardson, or Purdy. Let me pull up this QB list here again. So this is a must-start list. Let's pull up the QBs to start. Over Goff, Allen. Oh, we lost the comment. I think you got to start Love tonight. I think the question there, this is the order I would start these guys in on the YouTube live right now. I would start Allen, then Mahomes, then Hurts, Herbert, Tua, Kirk, and then Love. I do like Jordan Love tonight. He's a 2.5-point home underdog. He has 7 passing touchdowns this year, which is the top 3 in the league. And Christian Watson's returning. Aaron Jones is returning. This is good for Jordan Love. So yeah, I like Jordan Love tonight. And I think the other part of that question, let me see if I can find it here. Here we go. Yeah. I'm not starting Love. I'm not starting any of these guys over Love. I think Anthony Richardson's super close. He's the one guy I would really consider. And Wilson has a good matchup against the Bears, but I wouldn't start Russ over Jordan Love. And I'm not starting Purdy over Love or Goff this week. Yeah, Richardson versus Love, I think, is super, super close. I personally lean Love over Richardson. I do think Richardson's going to play, though. And I think with that floor, like, he has a better floor just because of the rushing. Okay, and then Pitts versus Musgrave. Yeah, so I thought Pitts was a must-start last week. I was kind of right about that. I put that in my weekly must-start video on TikTok. Gino or Goff? Yeah, I'm going Gino over Goff. Thank you to the TikTok live subscriber that asked that question. But I put a video out saying Pitts was a must-start. A lot of people commenting on that video asking if it was a joke, just a straight-up joke. I don't really make that many jokes, honestly, in my TikTok lives or live streams. I'm not the biggest jokester. I'm going to tell you what I think. And last week, I really felt like Pitts was a must-start because of the matchup. The matchup for Kyle Pitts last week was really good. It was a good matchup for him. Let me pull up Kyle Pitts here in his game logs. And who was he playing, guys? Who was Kyle Pitts playing? He was playing the Lions. That's why I really like Luke Musgrave tonight, and why he absolutely has to be started over Kyle Pitts. Let me pull up Musgrave here just to show the comparison on the YouTube live. But yeah, Musgrave over Pitts for sure this week. And I was in the Pitts camp last week, really matchup dependent, and Pitts had a good game. He really should have had a bigger game. We look at the game logs for Pitts. Pitts had 107 air yards last week, guys. I mean, gosh, you don't see tight ends go over 100 air yards very often. Super, super uncommon. He still had 5 catches for 41 yards, 9.1 points. That finished him as tight end 16. Really not that great. I think that's an accurate ranking there. And then Luke Musgrave, meanwhile, yeah, he's got to be started over Pitts for sure this week. The Lions have not been good against tight ends. Guys, the Lions have not stopped a tight end this season. I don't think they've stopped a single tight end. They rank bottom 3 against tight ends this year. Let me pull up the numbers here and read them off to you about the Lions against tight ends. The Lions, week 1, Blake Bell and Noah Gray combined for over 15 fantasy points. Week 2, Noah Fant, Colby Parkinson, and Will Dissly combined for over 100 yards against the Lions. Then week 3, Kyle Pitts, he and Jonnu Smith, they combined for over 80 yards and 10 catches. And they should have had an even bigger day if Desmond Ridder could connect on some of these deep passes to Pitts. So yeah, they have not stopped anyone. At least 15 points to tight ends. The Lions have allowed every single game so far this season. And they haven't played the best tight ends. We're talking Blake Bell, Noah Gray, Colby Parkinson. Like they haven't played that great at tight ends. Luke Musgrave is probably the second best tight end that they're playing this season. So yeah, I like Luke Musgrave a lot. I think he's a top 10 option for sure this week. And I'm starting him in almost every situation that I've seen so far in the comments. And yes, I'm starting him over Kyle Pitts for sure this week. Numbers have looked good, guys, for Luke Musgrave. Over 88% of the, at least 88% of the snaps in each of his last 2 games. He had 8 targets, 19% target share last week. Pretty good numbers here. He's got 2 games now over 70 air yards too. That's pretty good for a tight end. Doesn't have under 12% target share this season. So at least there's some floor with Musgrave. And yeah, I really like his ceiling tonight. I think Musgrave's a must start tonight in general. I think him versus Waller, it's pretty tough. I have a feeling Waller's going to project better than Musgrave. I honestly don't hate Musgrave over Waller, though. I really don't. Waller had a bad game last week, and the Giants just crumbled against the 49ers. He still had 7 targets, but he had only 3 catches, 20 yards. Better matchup for him this week against the Seahawks. Let me do this comparison. And yeah, Waller wins this in the WalterPicks app by a little bit, but then we go to the fantasy points per game numbers, and it's tough for me to tell you just to bench Luke Musgrave for Darren Waller. I honestly think Musgrave over Waller is fine. I think I would play Musgrave over Waller. The matchup is, again, really good for him tonight. Hey, Sam, let's get to some more of these comments. Lamb or Smith PPR? Not a Thursday night question, but you can't bench CeeDee Lamb. Best fantasy platform. Been using it since its inception. Thanks, Luke. I'm at a crossroads. Madison, Moss, or Rashad White in full PPR. Not a Thursday night question either. Again, I'll try to get to the Thursday night questions. I try to prioritize on the Thursday night live because I'm also live for 3+ hours Sunday mornings to get to all the rest of the start sits. And there's some tough start sits tonight. But as a quick answer to this question, man, Madison versus Moss, I think is close. I think I like them both more than White this week. I really don't want to bench Madison though this week. It's a good matchup for him. Ford or Gibbs? Yeah, I'm playing Gibbs over Jerome Ford. I'm playing Gibbs over Jerome Ford. I'm playing Gibbs over Josh Kelly. This week, I'm playing Gibbs over Alexander Madison. I'm playing Gibbs over Devon Achane. I'm playing Gibbs over a lot of running backs. I especially if this is a PPR league. I assume this is a PPR league. I always assume if you don't tell me the scoring settings, my mind goes to PPR because that's all the leagues I'm in are PPR. But yeah, I really do like a Jahmyr Gibbs in PPR formats tonight. Again, I think I'm onto something here. We saw last time that Montgomery and Gibbs played together in the same game. Jahmyr Gibbs, he played less than half the snaps, but he saw a 26% target share and ran 20 routes. Both of those were by far the highest numbers of the season. Last week, Montgomery sits, and they don't use Gibbs as much in the passing game. He saw 17 carries, but he ran less routes, and I think he had a 7%, 6% target share last week, like 1 or 2 targets. It felt like they had to use Gibbs in the Montgomery role, but tonight they're going to use Montgomery in the Montgomery role, and Gibbs is going to go back to his pass catching role, which is good for him in fantasy. And why I like his free prop tonight on the live is Jahmyr Gibbs over 2.5 receptions. Hey, Sam, love the app, especially the advanced stats. Yeah, I've been loving the advanced stats in the app this year, like really the air yards number and the route percentage numbers. Just looking at going to the WalterPicks app, and this is free for everybody, even if you don't have the premium subscription in the WalterPicks app, which lets you sync your league for the really custom insights in the app. Even if you don't have that, like just seeing the route percentage and air yards numbers in the WalterPicks app for free is a huge edge. It's really one of the biggest edges, I think, in fantasy is being aware of these numbers. Target share percentage, important too. Obviously, snap percentage, that's pretty easily found in other places too. But yeah, all these advanced stats I think are super useful for making decisions about trades, starts and decisions too. All right. And at drop decisions, honestly. All right, need help for 2 different leagues. Gibbs or Sanders and Gibbs or Tank Dell. Walter has it close. I appreciate the help. Yes, a tie. I'm assuming you're in a PPR league. I'm going to go on a limb here and assume this is PPR. If it's not PPR, I think Sanders over Gibbs is a pretty easy decision. If it's full PPR, I think it's super close. And Sanders has been one of the better PPR running backs this season. I have a feeling Walter is going to say Sanders over Gibbs. And Walter does have Sanders over Gibbs just slightly. Sanders has a 34% bust percentage, so a little bit riskier but a higher ceiling, according to Walter. Sanders gets the Vikings defense this week. Yeah, and this is really why I like Gibbs a lot. Tonight is the Packers matchup. They've been bottom 12 against running backs this season. Let's look at the numbers though for Sanders. Like when you look at the target numbers and the routes, these are pretty elite, really elite receiving numbers for Sanders through the first 3 weeks. He has had at least a 16% target share in every game this year. That's really, really strong. He has 12 receptions now on the year. All that being considered, I'm going Gibbs over Sanders this week. I'm going Gibbs over Sanders. I think Gibbs versus Tank Dell. I'm going Gibbs there as well. That one's close to in a PPR format, though. I do really like Tank this week, too. I think Walter will take Tank here as well. Yeah, Walter does like Tank. Yeah, I would go Tank over Gibbs. I would go Tank over Gibbs. It's a better even matchup for Tank than it is Gibbs. Tank coming up back-to-back 20-plus point games in a really, really good matchup. This is the best matchup Tank Dell has had this season against the Steelers this week. So yeah, I'm going Tank Dell. Yeah, he also had his best air yards day last week. I'm going Tank Dell over Gibbs, but I'm going Gibbs over Sanders. I do really, really like Gibbs tonight. I do also really like Tank Dell this week too. Thank you, Ty, for the comment and the question. And by the way, guys, if you haven't yet, if you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. And if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. It takes you guys like 2 seconds. Can't tell you how much it really helps us. Year 3 with WalterPicks from Jimmy. Trade Scary Terry for A-Chain in a PPR league. I want to see what the WalterPicks app trade analyzer says about this one. Off the cuff, I prefer A-Chain. A rest of season over Scary Terry. I'm really struggling, honestly, in a few of my leagues with the A-Chain start-sit decision this week. But I think in trades where I don't have to think about this week's start-sit decision, I'm taking A-Chain over Terry rest of season because I think the upside for A-Chain is higher. Yeah, and Walter agrees. A-Chain over McLaurin in trades right now. I'm taking A-Chain over McLaurin. Guys, the A-Chain has league-winning upside. He does. Terry McLaurin does not have league-winning upside. Terry McLaurin can be a wide receiver 2, maybe decent flex option for you in PPR leagues. He's been okay. This season, not great. He doesn't have a single game over 16 points or 17 points. He's got 2 weeks with 10 or less points. The target numbers have been okay, but yeah, the Commanders' offense. Guys, the Commanders are currently on track to break the NFL record in sacks by a ton, by like 30 sacks. That's how bad the Commanders' offensive line and Sam Howell has been this season. And yeah, meanwhile, like we saw it last week, A-Chain has league-winning upside. If anything happens to Mostert, A-Chain's going to win leagues. Even if something doesn't happen to Mostert, A-Chain can potentially win fantasy leagues. Like that, there's just not many running backs that have the type of ceiling we saw from A-Chain last week, and the ceiling that the Dolphins' offense has in general, not comparable to the Commanders' offense. So yeah, I'm going A-Chain in this one, Jimmy. I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, let's get to some of these Thursday night questions again. All right, we got Monty, Dobbs, Bourne, Wandale Robinson. Start 2 in PPR. You got to start Monty in this one. Monty is a good start in situations like this. I think of all of my must starts tonight, like Romeo Dobbs and David Montgomery are the closest to fringe starts. Like there's a lot of situations that I'm okay benching David Montgomery tonight. I think Monty versus A-Chain, by the way, super tough one. I'm leaning Monty over A-Chain. I just think Monty's a little bit safer. A-Chain's for sure has a higher ceiling, but that's a tough one for me. But in this one, yeah, you're starting Monty, and I think you start Romeo Dobbs too. I like Romeo Dobbs more than Kendrick Bourne. I like Romeo Dobbs more than Wandale Robinson. I do like Wandale Robinson as a sneaky ad, though, to sit on the bench. Gibbs or Tank Dell? Yeah, if that's a PPR league, I'm going Tank Dell. I'm going Tank Dell over Gibbs as much as I like Gibbs tonight. Goff or Fields? Got to be Fields for me over Goff. Good matchup for Fields this week. Start Mike Evans against Lattimore or Tank Dell at flex PPR. Mike Evans has historically not done well against Lattimore and the Saints. He's going to project well. He's going to rank well. But yeah, I like Tank Dell more than Mike Evans in PPR. It feels weird to say that given how good of a season Mike Evans is having. Mike Evans is having a dominant season, guys. Mike Evans is turning back the clock. Mike Evans is about on track for another 1,000-yard season. He's got almost 300 yards. He's almost a third of the way to the 1,000 yards already. He's got 3 touchdowns through 3 games. Guys, Mike Evans is number 6 in fantasy points per game. But yeah, I still kind of like him more. Like him less than Tank Dell this week. Rest of the season, though, it's got to be Mike Evans. Hey, Sam, how's it going? Sorry, Sam, not Thursday night football, but thoughts on a trade. I get Barkley Olave for Puka, Javonte, Godwin, Palmer. Do this trade, Yarshma. Do it. Hit yes. This is a really good time to trade Puka Nacua. And Puka Nacua is in a really, really interesting, tough to predict spot for fantasy right now. It could go a lot of different directions, but Cooper Kupp is going to return at some point, most likely, probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe not next week like we maybe hoped. Sounds like maybe it's going to be week 6 or week 7. But when Cooper Kupp returns, guys, Puka Nacua cannot see these target numbers. There's almost no chance. Almost no chance. So yeah, it seems like a good sell window right now for Puka. I do think Puka's going to go off this week specifically. One more, as many weeks as Cooper Cup's out, I'm going to be in on Puka Nacua. But yeah, I do like the trade here. I like Olave a lot in that trade. Why is Jared Goff a must sit? And should I start Goff or Stroud? Yeah, this is a tough one here. Let me pull this up in the WalterPicks app. Goff is a must sit really because I think there's a lot of good options that I like more than Goff. It's not even that I really hate Goff tonight, but there's been no quarterback that's thrown over more than one touchdown against the Packers defense yet this season. I know Jair Alexander, he's questionable tonight. I think I do probably like Goff more than Stroud, as good as Stroud has looked. Stroud, by the way, most impressive rookie quarterback so far this season has to be CJ Stroud. He's playing with the worst offensive line in the NFL, and he is balling still. Let's pull up these numbers here. Yeah, Goff's still averaging more points than him, though, and Goff has a better matchup than Stroud. So, yeah, I'm okay going Goff over Stroud. I have Goff in the must-bench list because I no longer have the fringe starts list. I think Goff would probably be on that fringe starts list. I have him like around QB 16 overall this week. So I think there's a lot of QBs I would start over him. But, yeah, CJ Stroud's not one of them. I'm going Goff over CJ Stroud. All right, let's get to this question here from Kylo. Sam, what props do you like besides Gibbs? Also, London game this weekend. Yeah, we got a football game on during the Sunday morning live this weekend. Guys, don't forget to set your lineups. Early Saturday, late Saturday night or very early Sunday morning, there is a London game, Falcons versus the Jaguars this week. Yeah, I do like the Sam Laporta line over 3.5 receptions on Sleeper. Again, if you use code Walter2 on Sleeper, you get a 100% deposit match. So go get the 100% deposit match with code Walter on Sleeper, and then take the free line they're giving Sam Laporta over 3.5 receptions is a steal. He's at 4.5 everywhere else. And I like him over 4.5 receptions too. I also like Luke Musgrave's prop lines tonight. And I do like Jordan Love's touchdown prop tonight also. Those are some of my favorite props tonight. All right, let's get back to some of these Thursday start sit questions. If you have Laporta and Andrews, would you use Andrews to trade for RB or wide receiver upgrades? Quick question from the TikTok Live subscriber in the TikTok Live. By the way, if you subscribe to the TikTok Lives, I will try to answer all of your questions. Anytime I see one of your questions, I'm going to answer them. I promise. That's my promise to you. If you subscribe to the TikTok Lives, you'll get your comments answered. And yeah, it's a good situation to trade Mark Andrews. I would trade Mark Andrews. You're probably going to get more for Andrews than you will Laporta. They're both top 6 tight ends rest of the season. So yeah, I like trading Andrews to get a running back or receiver. And I posted a video today about my 3 favorite running backs to trade for. I have a feeling you could get any 3 of those guys potentially in your league. That's Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, and who's the third running back? Alexander Madison. All 3 of those guys are gettable with Mark Andrews, I think. And yeah, you have a really good option right behind him. Nico Collins or Madison in the flex. Not a Thursday night question. But yeah, I think I lean towards Madison in the flex this week. Thursday night football question. Good afternoon, Sam. Do I start Jacobs versus the Chargers or Aaron Jones tonight? PPR 50+ yard TD bonus. Yeah, Josh Jacobs is not going to get that 50+ yard TD bonus. Aaron Jones might. I don't think you can make decisions, though, in this league based on that. Maybe it's an okay tiebreaker. I want to do this comparison, though, because I get it. A lot of people are fed up with Josh Jacobs in fantasy. But, God, he keeps projecting so well, and he finally has a good matchup this week. Both these guys are top 10 running backs, according to Walter. I agree with Walter on this one. I would start Josh Jacobs over Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones also, he's coming off the injury. He's not seeing the usage Josh Jacobs is seeing. Let's just compare some of these side by side. So Aaron Jones averaging way more points. Aaron Jones has played, what, 1 game, 2 games? Yeah, 1 game. So, you got to take these averages from Aaron Jones with a big grain of salt. But we look at some of the usage numbers, and yeah, the carries are way higher for Josh Jacobs. Obviously, the efficiency has been really bad for Jacobs, and even the receiving numbers. He's catching more passes. He's running more routes. He's got more targets than Aaron Jones. Really interesting offensive situation to try to predict, though, with the Raiders this week, too. Is Jimmy G going to play? Is he not going to play? I saw that he practiced it in some limited fashion today. That's maybe a good sign he plays. If Brian Hoyer plays, that's probably not good for Jacobs, but it's a very good matchup for Jacobs against the Chargers. He had a good matchup last week, too, though, against the Steelers, and that did not come through. It's a tough call. This is a tough call between Jacobs and Aaron Jones. I lean Jacobs, though, with the usage we've seen from him over Aaron Jones coming off the injury. Gibbs or Puka at flex, Sam? You can't bench Puka. In a PPR league, do not bench Puka this week. Not scared about Gibbs. No, I'm really not that scared about Gibbs. And I think we're on to something here. Just use code Walter on Sleeper. Xavier, thank you. Yeah, it's a really good way to help us out. Use code Walter on Sleeper, and then you'll get a 100% deposit match too. Hope your week is going good as well. Appreciate the positivity. Aaron Jones or Mike Evans? I'm okay going Aaron Jones over Mike Evans. I am kind of nervous for Mike Evans this week against the Saints. He has historically been stopped by Marshawn Lattimore, but he is having a really good season. I still think I like Jones, though. No Campbell or Jair. Yeah, I get that. I think Aaron Jones does benefit a little bit from that. Gibbs or St. Brown props or locks, baby. Just use code Walter and Sleeper. Yeah, I do really like the Gibbs prop. I like Amon Ross props to a decent amount. I think this game will be close. I am liking the Packers at plus 2.5. Let me pull this up again on the YouTube live. Let me put the must starts here again on the YouTube live. Goff or T-Law? Yeah, I'm going T-Law over Goff. Love or T-Law? I'm going T-Law. I think I'm going Love over T-Law, actually. I'm okay playing Jordan Love over Trevor Lawrence. Is Gibbs still a start even though Montgomery's back? Yes. I even think we might be seeing a situation where Montgomery coming back, like I think this will fly over a lot of people's heads. I do. And this will be a pretty telling game to see if I'm onto something here or not. But we look at the game that Montgomery played in last. That was week 2. And let's pull up the Gibbs game logs. In week 2, Gibbs saw the usage that we want to see from Gibbs. This is the reason I'm so bullish on Gibbs, is I think that he can be top 3 in the league in receiving statistics at the running back position. And week 2, we saw why I thought that. He saw a 26% target share. He had 7 catches. He ran 21 routes, the most he's ran this season. And then week 3, without David Montgomery, he runs less routes. He has less targets because he got all the carries. He got 17 carries. And that's David Montgomery's role, is really to be the primary ball carrier in the backfield. Gibbs' role is to be the primary receiving back, like we saw from Swift last year. Swift did not have many games. I don't think he had a single game last year under 2.5 receptions. And that's the line set for Gibbs tonight. I like Gibbs tonight for that reason. And yeah, it's a good matchup for Gibbs. The one good matchup we've seen for Gibbs was against the Seahawks. That was his best game in fantasy. 13 points. Again, that was the game he had 7 catches. I like him against the Packers. They have not been great against running backs. All right, pick 2, Mostert, Gibbs, Aaron Jones, or James Cook. This is a tough one here too. Again, I do think I lean Gibbs over Aaron Jones, but I think Mostert and James Cook maybe over both these guys. Let's see how Walter ranks these ones. I definitely don't think you should be benching Mostert against the Bills. Let's see here. And yeah, Mostert comes in at RB9. James Cook comes in at RB10. So yeah, you got to start Mostert and Cook. And this game is just going to be so high scoring. And yeah, Walter does have, I think, Aaron Jones. Yeah, Aaron Jones is ahead of Gibbs by a decent amount in these projections. I think I would prefer. I think you got to go Aaron Jones actually over Gibbs. And looking at this isn't that close. The Packers are worse against running backs than the Lions are. But yeah, the numbers for Aaron Jones, that one game he played, and how bad A.J. Dillon's looked, assuming Aaron Jones sees his full workload, around half the snaps and most of the receiving work. Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns in week 1. It's close. It's really, really close. I think Aaron Jones can be started over Gibbs, though. I think I lean that way. I don't feel great about it. But Mostert and James Cook should be started over Aaron Jones and Jahmyr Gibbs tonight. We got to the bottom of that. Would you start Addison or David Montgomery or Dell? Yeah, so I'm starting Dell over Montgomery. In PPR leagues, Dell over Montgomery. Addison versus Dell is definitely closer. It's definitely a decision. I still think I like Dell probably more than Addison this week. That's not a Thursday night start sit, though. I definitely bench Montgomery in that spot. 2 Thursday night football questions here. Montgomery or Madison, and Musgrave or Ingram in a PPR league. Oh God, yeah, I like Ingram and Musgrave this week. I think Ingram's okay to start over Musgrave. We're gonna pull up that comparison in a second. Let's do Montgomery and Madison too. Madison does finally have a good matchup this week. Madison's had 2 tough matchups. The usage has been really elite for Madison. I think you got to start Madison. Yeah, you got to start Madison over Montgomery. He's got a better matchup than Montgomery. He's going to get better usage than Montgomery. I'm really not that scared about Cam Akers when it comes to Alexander Madison. And then Musgrave versus Ingram. I think I lean Ingram before doing this comparison. And I think Walter's going to agree. But this one actually is pretty close. Again, really good matchup for Musgrave. The Lions have not stopped a single tight end this season. Not one. And they have played tight ends much worse than Musgrave. They didn't stop Colby Parkinson. They weren't able to stop Blake Bell and Noah Gray in week 1. And last week, they didn't stop Kyle Pitts or Jonnu Smith. They didn't. Desmond Ridder failed to hit Kyle Pitts on a couple of deep passes. That was not because of the defense for the Lions. The Lions are bottom 3 against tight ends this season. But the Falcons have not been good against tight ends either. And Evan Ingram, I do really like him with Zay Jones projected to be out this week. Evan Ingram's been really steady this season. No touchdowns yet for Ingram, but he's been a top 7 tight end every single week. You got to start Evan Ingram. I think you got to start Evan Ingram. I do really like Musgrave, but yeah, I think we draw the line right around or near Evan Ingram for the Musgrave start sits. Gabe Davis or Josh Palmer? Not a Thursday night question. I think I lean Gabe Davis, though, this week against the Dolphins. Tua, AR-15, or Fields. Don't bench Tua. I'm not benching Tua. Do I start Gibbs with Laporta too, or put Sutton in at flex? Yeah, you got to start Gibbs over Sutton. You absolutely have to start Gibbs over Sutton. There's no way around it. I don't care if you're starting Laporta too. like independent decisions. I get you don't really love, I don't love starting running backs and receivers on the same team either, but I like to make independent decisions in my start sit decisions. Like Gibbs is still a better start than Sutton in a vacuum, even though you're starting Laporta. Start both. Sam, as always, love the app. Get into that one in a second, James. Laporta or Ingram, Aaron Jones or Kamara. Yeah, I'm playing Laporta. I'm benching Laporta for Ingram, and I'm not playing Aaron Jones over Alvin Kamara. I'm starting Alvin Kamara in every situation this week. I think he's my number 4 running back this week. Sam, as always, love the app. Thanks, James. Appreciate that. Yeah, guys, the best way you could possibly support me, checking out the WalterPicks app for free in the iOS and Android app store. Custom insights, custom to your league settings. I've been sharing the screen of the app on this live. All this information, all these game logs, totally free. When you tap on player images, totally free to get those in the WalterPicks app as well. So much of the app is free. There's no reason for you not to download it and try it. It's going to give you an edge in your fantasy leagues and help with DFS and player prop decisions too. All right, Tank Dell versus Myers versus Dobbs. Non-PPR. God, I hate non-PPR leagues. And the Jacoby Myers thing is tough because we don't know what QB is starting. Let's see the latest report here for Garoppolo. How do you spell Jimmy Garoppolo? There he is. It's a tough name to spell, that last name, Garoppolo. Let's read the latest news on him. Officially limited on Thursday. Still in the concussion protocol, but a huge step in the right direction. Realistic shot of suiting up. I think we can assume he plays, but definitely not a lock. In today's NFL, you almost always miss 1 week when you're in the concussion protocol these days. And I think that's honestly a net positive for the players. But yeah, I would go Tank Dell here. I really don't want to bench Tank Dell. I like Dobbs tonight, but with Christian Watson returning, there's definitely more uncertainty there. It's not like the Lions secondary has been bad either. It's got to be Tank Dell. I know this is a PPR comparison. Let's switch to this non-PPR because that was the question. And it's still Tank Dell. It's still Tank Dell. Still a better matchup for Tank Dell. Better numbers for Tank Dell still this season. Plus Christian Watson's returning. Start Tank Dell over Romeo Dobbs. I'm starting Tank Dell over Jahmyr Gibbs tonight too, and I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. All right, let's get to another comment. Laporta or Freiermuth? Got to be Laporta. Guys, there's really not many tight ends to start over Laporta this week. There's really, it's a short list. It is Kelsey and Hawkinson. That might be it. That might be the end. And Kittle. I'm starting Kittle over him too. That's it. That's the only tight ends I'm starting over Laporta this week. It's Kelsey, Kittle, Hawkinson. That's it. Then I'm starting Evan Ingram over Musgrave. I'm nervous for Mark Andrews this week. Really nervous against the Browns defense. But I think I'd still start him over Musgrave. I think I would bench Waller for Musgrave. I think I'd probably play Goddard over Musgrave, but that's it. That's the end of the tight end list for me. Then it's Musgrave, I think. So yeah, I think both guys are really good tight end options this week. All right, let's run through high level my takes for tonight. We are nearing the end of the live stream. About 10 minutes left here. So first of all, I really like Gibbs tonight. There's been a lot of questions tonight about Gibbs, and honestly, more than I expected. I've said to bench Gibbs, so he's not a auto lock in every situation. Like I'm playing Tank Dell over Gibbs. I'm playing Alvin Kamara over Gibbs. I'm playing Aaron Jones over Gibbs. But I'm playing Gibbs over guys like David Montgomery. I'm playing Gibbs over guys like Devon Achane. I'm playing Gibbs over guys like Alexander Madison. I would like Gibbs more than most running backs this week in PPR leagues. I think we see him have a good receiving day tonight. I still think the ceiling's really high for Gibbs. James Cook or Aaron Jones. Yeah, that one's tough. I think I'd lean James Cook over Aaron Jones, but definitely really close. Definitely really, really close. I think Walter has Jones over James Cook. James Cook just doesn't score touchdowns. It's such a tough situation for fantasy with Cook because he's coming out of the game at the goal line. But his targets are good. His efficiency is good. His carry numbers are good. He's just not going to score many touchdowns because that's not his role on the team. But yeah, I'm starting Amon-Ra for sure tonight. Aaron Jones is a good start tonight. I know some tough decisions with Jones tonight too, coming off the injury, but he's a good start tonight too. The Packers have not been good against running backs. That's why I have David Montgomery in the must start category. He's really closer to a fringe start. Myers versus Montgomery in the flex in a PPR league. I do lean Jacoby Myers there in a PPR format. Half PPR, non-PPR, Montgomery gets a lot more enticing. I do like Romeo Dobbs the most of the Packers receiver of the receivers tonight, but he's not a true must start. He's closer to a fringe start as well. There's a lot of players I'm starting over Romeo Dobbs. Tank Dell is a good example. All right, must bench guys. So Jared Goff is on the must bench list just because there's a lot of QBs I would start over Goff. I don't think he is a bad play tonight. I just don't see a true elite ceiling for him over some of these other options this week. There's been no quarterbacks that have thrown for 2+ touchdowns against the Packers yet this season. I know they're missing some key pieces on their defense. But yeah, I still like Jordan Love more than Goff tonight. He's done better this season. He's much more aggressive pushing down the ball down the field. I'm playing Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Herbert, Tua, Kirk Cousins, Russ, Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. I'd play all of those guys over Goff. I like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Joe Burrow, and Lamar over Goff too. I play Goff over Stroud, though. That's one that I did say I would go Goff with earlier in the live. I like Goff more than Stroud. I think Goff is like an okay, just not great option. That's why he's in the must bench category tonight. AJ Dillon, I haven't seen a single AJ Dillon question. Guys, it feels like AJ Dillon's like a little bit down for the count. And AJ Dillon's one of my favorite NFL players of all time because he gave a huge shout out to the WalterPicks last season. And he gave our Packers creator free tickets to the Packers game. If you guys aren't following our creators, by the way, we have one creator for each NFL team on TikTok and Instagram, teamname.WalterPicks. Such amazing content they've been producing for the third straight year now. But yeah, AJ Dillon, man, these numbers have been brutal. He has not gone over 3.7 yards per carry in a game yet this season. Now Aaron Jones returns, and man, he's like he's really like kind of tough just to hold on your bench right now in fantasy. I hope he turns it around, though. I'm definitely rooting for him, but he's definitely on the must bench list tonight. Marvin Jones, Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, they are all at risk of 0-point nights. One of them maybe will have a big game, but two of them will probably be complete busts. Marvin Jones does not have a target or catch in the last two games. He ran only 10 routes last game. Last game, Josh Reynolds was out there a lot, like 80% of the snaps and routes, but he had 0 catches. So yeah, super, super low floor for all the non-Amon-Ra wide receivers tonight. And Jaden Reed, I really don't think he can be trusted tonight either. Monty or Njoku, I'm going Monty over Njoku 1,000%. Jaden Reed cannot be trusted with Christian Watson returning. I just don't see as big of a red zone role for Jaden Reed as he's been seeing. I still think Romeo Doubs, number one receiver tonight. And Christian Watson, yeah, just not expected to see his full workload. Let me pull up the news report here on the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. And on YouTube, I can share my screen, so a little bit better reviewing experience. But yeah, he's making his 2023 debut. But yeah, there's a report that Packers will be cautious, quote unquote, will be cautious with Watson's workload. What does that mean? Half the snaps maybe for him? Like, look at some of the numbers from last year. I think all of his big games, he was playing a decent amount. So yeah, I'm kind of nervous for the workload for Watson tonight. That's why he's the must bench category. But moving forward, I feel pretty good about Christian Watson. I saw someone ask about my thoughts on Alvin Kamara. I mean, I'm very excited for him in fantasy. Super excited. I drafted him in a lot of best ball leagues. He was actually my most drafted running back in best ball was Alvin Kamara. And I am very excited to see how he does in his return. Sam, have a great night. Enjoy the game. See you bright and early Sunday. Yeah, we are on London time Sunday morning. So it's definitely see you bright and early. Thanks for tuning in, Kylo. All right. Let's run through, again, just a couple of my final thoughts on the game. I'm taking Gibbs over Mondre and Pacheco. For sure, I'm playing Gibbs over Mondre and Pacheco, and I think I'd lean Mondre over Pacheco as well. A good matchup for Pacheco, I think, this week. But yeah, I think I'd lean Mondre and Gibbs in this one. I'm taking the Packers against the spread tonight. I do like the Packers against the spread tonight, plus 2.5. I don't love it. I think it's okay. Like is honestly even a strong word. I think this is a pretty good spread. I would feel much better about them at plus 3. But I am over 50% against the spread now this season. But I'm way better on the player props than the spreads. The spreads are so tough. They're such sharp markets. Really tough to beat. That's why I risk $0 over the course of the season on spreads. But I am heavily involved in the player props because they are very exploitable. And I think this Jahmyr Gibbs prop line is exploitable tonight, over 2.5 receptions. We are 5-1 on the free player props in this live this season. Let's go to 6-1 tonight. We have missed just one time on these lives with the free player prop. I do also, again, really like the Sam Laporta line that they're basically giving away for free on Sleeper. If you haven't used the Pick'em game on Sleeper yet, guys, use it. It is the best Pick'em game that's out there. And if you use code Walter, 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 when you deposit for the first time on Sleeper, they'll match your deposit 100% up to $100. So you're going to get a free deposit match, double your money instantly. Then you're also going to take this free Laporta line. You're going to take the Gibbs reception line also, and then run it back with someone on the Packers. I do like Tutu Atwell's receiving yards line too this week. If you're going to play a line with this one tonight, the Laporta line over 3.5 receptions, that's free on Sleeper. Again, code Walter for that free deposit match on Sleeper is a really good option for everybody. But I do like Tutu's line too, his receiving yards line. Hey, Sam, Thursday night question. Which two of Josh Palmer, David Montgomery, Romeo Doubs should I start? PPR 16-man league. Yeah, wow. The 16-man league is tough, Rodrigo. I'm in a 14-man league. I had Nick Chubb and Mike Williams in that league. I have the 5th most points in that league, and I'm in last. 0-3. Brutal stuff. Sometimes fantasy can really come at you fast. But I'm battling back, and I know what it's like to be in a 14, 16-man league. And this is a tough decision. You got to make the right decisions, especially in these leagues with more people. The margins are just so small. I do like David Montgomery more than both these guys tonight. I think I like Romeo Doubs more than Palmer too. I think I would go Monty and Romeo Doubs over Josh Palmer. It's a good matchup for Palmer this week. I do expect Palmer to fill in more for Mike Williams than Quentin Johnston will. let's do this 3-player comparison here. It's a PPR league, so let's check this out. Probably Joshua Palmer. Yep. Josh Palmer. We got David Montgomery. And yeah, definitely Montgomery has to be started here. And then Dobbs. Oh, man, he ranks, I think, worse than Palmer. This is still non-PPR. Let's switch this to PPR. And wow, Palmer now leads in the PPR scoring. So yeah, I guess bench Dobbs for Palmer, but play Montgomery. It's okay playing Palmer over Dobbs, honestly. Yeah, with Christian Watson returning, I'm fine with that. I do like Dobbs the most of the Packers receivers tonight, but yeah, Palmer is a good matchup against the Raiders. They've been the worst defense of all these three defenses you're deciding between. I guess the Packers defense against Montgomery is tied with them as the worst defense, but yeah, they've allowed more points per game to receivers than the Packers have allowed per game to the running back. So yeah, start Palmer, start Montgomery, bench Dobbs. I'm cool with that decision. Definitely a tough one there. Definitely a close one. Lamar or Jordan Love? Yeah, I'm starting Jordan Love over Lamar. I'm nervous for Lamar this week, guys. I am. The Browns have been the number one defense against quarterbacks. They've been the number one defense against running backs. They've been the number one defense against wide receivers, and you guessed it, the number one defense against tight ends too. The Browns defense has been the best defense in the league so far this season. It honestly hasn't been that close, and it makes me terrified for the Ravens this week and Lamar and really everyone in that offense. Like I'm playing Laporta over Mark Andrews tonight. And I think Musgrave over Andrews is for sure in play. Like I honestly think I would play Musgrave over Andrews, and that feels gross, especially because Bateman and OBJ didn't practice today. But yeah, the Browns defense is legit. I'm nervous for Lamar and that whole Ravens offense. Good week to bench guys in that offense. Hey, Sam, Luke or Darren Waller and Love or Watson? Yeah, Luke Musgrave versus Darren Waller is super, super close. I lean Musgrave over Waller. We have not seen a tight end be stopped by the Lions yet this season, and they have not played very good tight ends. I'd say this is the second best tight end they've played after Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts had his best game of the season last week. He had 9.1 points. On top of that, Jonnu Smith had 37 yards and 5 catches. The Lions have allowed at least 70 yards to tight ends in their last 2 games. They played Noah Fant, Colby Parkinson, and Will Dissly, and combined those guys went over 100 yards. Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith over 7. They got, I think, combined 78 yards, 10 catches, 78 yards. And then week 1, Blake Bell goes for a touchdown, and Noah Gray goes for 3 catches, 31 yards. They combined over 15 fantasy points. They've allowed at least 15 points to tight ends every game this season. So yeah, I'm okay going Musgrave over Waller. I think the projections will disagree. I think it makes sense why the projections disagree. Waller's usage generally is better than Musgrave, but yeah, I'm going Musgrave over Waller this week with the matchups. And Love or Watson? Yeah, it's close. I think I go Love though over Deshaun. I do like Jordan Love tonight. He has been good this season. He has 7 passing touchdowns. Is Alvin Kamara a good play this week? Yes. Gibbs or Mixon this week? Has to be Gibbs over Mixon. 100%. I'm starting Gibbs over Mixon, and I'm honestly not thinking very hard about that one. I think it's pretty easy because you look at the matchup for Mixon, and it terrifies me. I think Walter disagrees. The usage for Mixon's been pretty good. But I feel pretty strongly I'm starting Gibbs over Mixon. When you look at the matchups, the Titans have been a top 5 defensive line this season. The only reason they don't rank top 5 right now is because Jerome Ford caught a touchdown pass last week. But guys, they've allowed 0 running backs to go over 45 rushing yards yet this season. So what's the rushing upside for Mixon this week? Pretty low. I think it's extremely low. I'm starting Gibbs, especially in PPR formats, over Mixon. You're praying for a big receiving day from Mixon, which is not impossible, but he has been coming off the field on 3rd downs and stuff. So yeah, I'm not feeling great about him. Love or Lamar this week? Definitely going Love over Lamar. I'm nervous about Lamar this week. All right, final thoughts wrapped up quickly. Start Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Aaron Jones, Sam Laporta, Jordan Love, Luke Musgrave, Romeo Doubs, and David Montgomery. I like Montgomery more than Doubs. All those guys are good starts. I think the fringe starts in that list are Romeo Doubs and David Montgomery. I like Montgomery more than Doubs, but Doubs can be benched with Watson returning. He is a little bit riskier. That's why I think Jaden Reed's a must bench tonight. And Christian Watson's a must bench himself because they're saying his workload is going to be limited tonight. So I just don't want to start a guy that I have no confidence in how much Watson's going to play. Moving forward, Watson's going to be the receiver to play in this offense. I'm benching Jared Goff because there's a lot of QBs I like more than Jared Goff tonight. I think that this week, Jared Goff is like QB 16 for me. I would start Goff over Stroud. I saw that question a couple times. Christian Watson bench, AJ Dillon bench, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, Marvin Jones, Jaden Reed bench. All those guys, their floors are extremely, extremely low. I do not play tight ends over receivers or running backs ever. I'm starting A-Chain over Laporta. I'm starting any running back and receiver almost always over the tight ends. I get there's maybe spots that you could talk yourself into. Laporta's in a good matchup. I like Laporta tonight. I like him over 4.5 receptions tonight, but I'm not playing him over A-Chain. The tight ends just always have a lower floor and ceiling than the running backs and receivers, almost always. Oh, by the way, quick, Weatherman Sam, no concerning weather tonight. 60 degrees, no wind, no precipitation. Player prop of the live stream. Free player prop. Go take it. It's free. We're 5-1 in the free prop picks this season on these lives. 2.5 receptions over for Jahmyr Gibbs. I also do like the Sam Laporta line on Sleeper. Use code Walter again for 100% deposit match on Sleeper. That is a 3.5 reception line on Sleeper for Sam Laporta. Guys, that's my time. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. If I didn't get to your start sit, go to the WalterPicks app. It's free in the YouTube description, in the TikTok bio. It's going to help you with your start sit decisions that I didn't get to, and it's going to be custom to your league scoring settings too. So it's even better oftentimes than I can be on these lives with my opinions. I do like Gibbs more than the app tonight. I think Gibbs is a really high ceiling play. Have a great night, everyone. We'll be back live early Sunday morning, as always. We're on London time this Sunday morning. London time. We got a game starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. That's the Jaguars and the Falcons. I'll see you guys all then. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good luck tonight. Have a good one.